All right, welcome to the Home Buying Insiders Podcast. My name is Jeff Newton, and I'm here, of course, today with our beautiful guest co-host, Liz Schremer. How are you today, Liz?
I'm doing wonderful. It's sunny and gorgeous outside. Could not be happier.
Finally, spring is
Oh
sprung,
my
I think. I don't want to jinx it,
I
but
know.
I think we're there. The contact is here at 855-971-1050. I don't know why I just took my glasses off before I read the phone number, so hopefully I got it right. Tell you what, getting old is not for the weak.
I don't know anything about it. Sorry.
Well, Ron, I'm going to bring you in on that.
We can talk about that.
Well, we're also joined by Ron Henderson here today. Ron, thanks for coming in. How are you?
My pleasure. I'm doing good. Like I said, it's sunny degrees outside. So I'm good.
Man, I tell you what, I am not a winter guy.
Not at all.
And so I have been begging for warm weather, and I don't care how hot it gets. 110, bring it on.
I'm fine with that too.
Longer days. That's huge for me.
I don't even warm up until it gets to 80.
Exactly. And I think we touched 80 something this week, a couple of different times.
On my car, it said 90 degrees today. I went home and changed my clothes. It was absolutely heaven. Yeah.
I'm all about warm weather. That's for sure. You know, it does a couple things. Number one, it means the beginning of baseball season, which I mean, anyone that listens to this or knows me knows I absolutely love baseball. So I'm glad about that. But it also, means the beginning of what we call the sales season in our real estate mortgage markets. So, without getting too far into anything else, I kind of want to start with that. Number one, I just want to hear a little bit about you and about your agency and your broker and how you kind of got into the real estate industry.
And what's your name?
Well,
Ronnie the Realtor.
We were joking about that.
I love that.
Yeah. So Ron Henderson, I have started with Keller Williams, only been at Keller Williams for 18 years now. Started April 1st, 2005.
Wow. So you're like on your anniversary.
Yeah. Really close. We just passed it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So I was in kind of advertising. Before that, I was working for a website development and online marketing company called Look and Feel New Media. I was in sales for them. And to be quite blunt about it, I was outselling what the company could produce, and it was causing me to not make the kind of income that I wanted to make because of that. Mm-hmm. It was a point where I had decided I needed to get back into owning my own business or do something where I could have unlimited income and I had total control over it. At least that's what I thought. So I decided to go into real estate in 2005, and I've really enjoyed it. I now have a team. There is one administrative person on our team, Barbara. Let's be honest, Barbara runs that team.
Barbara runs.
That's what I was going to say. I have a feeling Barbara must run things.
Yeah, Barbara manages everything. And then there are 6 agents on my team. We kind of cover the whole Kansas City area. I have 4 in the Northland, including myself, and 2 that are in Kansas. And we typically sell over 100 homes a year.
Nice.
And over the course of 18 years, I've probably up to almost 1,300 homes sold.
Wow.
So
that's awesome. And
not too bad.
How long or when did you kind of start your team? I mean, I'm sure you didn't come right out the gate with the team.
No, but that was always the intention, believe it or not. When I joined Keller Williams, part of the reason I joined them is because the team leader gave me the book by Gary Keller, Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Mm-hmm.
I read it. It made complete and total sense to me. I actually read it twice. And that was always my strategy. Someone forgot to tell me, though, I was getting in at the height of the real estate market in 2005 and 6, and it was about ready to take a big nosedive. But I actually thrived and started building the team at that time. So I hired my first administrative assistant, Elizabeth Gilbert, in 2010, which was 5 years in.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably waited too late to hire her because I had about 30 active listings on the market, and the phone was ringing off the hook. And I just remember the day she started, I said, I don't even know what to tell you to do, what to train you. And she said, well, just give me your credit card because I need to buy a bunch of stuff. And that was the beginning. And so I was like, great, give whatever you want. I got to go to a listing appointment. And I was out of there.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, that makes sense. You thought you could control everything, and you probably to the very last second think,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, I don't even know how to get anybody to help me.
And honestly, at the
I know
time,
what I'm doing.
I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and working till midnight or more every
Yeah.
night, just crazy hours.
And how do you get somebody to be that committed to the process when you're bringing new people on?
Yeah, and honestly, Elizabeth then began to put all of the structure, all of the processes
Nice.
in place. I was a little structured in the way that I wanted to do things. That was important to me as a business owner. I never really wanted to be a real estate agent. I wanted to be a business owner from day one.
Yeah.
And so the structure was very important to me. And Elizabeth worked with me over the years to put every single process in place. This is how we do this. Then this email goes out. Then this goes out. So we can get ahead of the client's expectations. And when they come in for the closing, they just say, that was the smoothest real estate transaction we've ever had. And we bought and sold several houses. So that always makes me proud.
That is a beautiful thing. Jeff and I deal with that all the time. What is our process going to be?
That's the best compliment too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is. It really
Hey, I've done this, countless times, and you made this as easy as it's ever been.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I love that compliment. That makes me feel good when I get that.
And we do hear that quite often. It's real estate. There's 10, 15 people involved in the mix in selling or buying a house, and personalities and different such. I can't control everything. I try, but sometimes things happen and just something goes sideways. But we try. But with 1,300 sales, I pretty much know what all the pitfalls are. I know 99% of them anyway, and I've been there and I know what to do.
Yeah.
So the team members come to me and they go, "Oh, what do we do here?" And I go, "Nah, that's nothing."
We've done this before.
I've done this a million times. We're good. I've seen this, do this, 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 and this, and you'll be fine. Yeah. Which is, really only experience can do that. And
Yeah. And so I tell clients all the time, we have in our listing and buyer packets, we have this one page called 88 Types of Turbulence. And I tell people, I don't put that in there to scare you. I just want you to know that we've been through all of these things before. And some of them are really horrific or may feel like they're horrific when you as a client, a consumer, are going through them and your life is turned upside down and everything else. But we put those in there just so you'll know we've been through these things before. Because when you're hiring an experienced person for anything, attorney, CPA, real estate, what you're really saying is, I want somebody that's been through a lot of problems and knows how to navigate. Because if it was easy, everybody could do it.
Exactly.
So I don't want the surgeon that's on, the knee surgeon that's going to cut on me and I'm the third guy. I want the guy that's done 1,300 and knows exactly what the problem is. Or if you have
somebody newer, they've got somebody to go to like you that has, they're not just on their own trying to figure it out and navigate it.
Well, that's the benefit of the agents on my team being
Yeah.
on there, is just being able to come to me with the knowledge.
That's kind of, how we work here. We've got just in our little office here, there's only, 3 of us, but we have almost 100 years of combined mortgage experience.
Right.
So if I come across something that I haven't seen before, I'm like, okay, well, let me go get this guy because, James knows or Joe knows or someone's going to know that, hey, yeah, I've gone through this. And don't get me wrong, I always tell people, look, there's always going to be hoops we got to jump through because we're dealing with underwriters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a guarantee we're going to jump through some hoops.
And guidelines that change daily.
Yeah. I mean, guidelines just changed.
Yeah.
But, our job is to make sure they're not on fire when we go through them.
Right.
And kind of like with you, is, look, these things can all come up and happen. Just know that it's not our first rodeo.
I like that you give them the expectation though, because that's huge to me too. I always say, do not freak out. Things happen through a loan process. It's not.
Well, people are nervous in a real estate transaction.
It's a huge thing.
I tell people this story. Years ago, I went to a real estate seminar, and the guy that was the keynote speaker was actually a mortgage guy. And he began this speech by saying, my daddy always told me, he had kind of a southern drawl when he said it too. I'm not going to try and do that.
Come on.
He said, my daddy always told me there's 3 things in life that people don't want you to mess with: their money, their home, and their family.
Yeah.
And in real estate, we mess with all 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
And, the crowd laughs and I'm like, that's a valid point. And he said, the reason I say that is because emotions run high, and you need to understand that your clients are just on edge. You understand what's going to happen next, but they don't. And if you don't tell them ahead of time what's coming, they get freaked out.
You do this every day, they do not.
Yeah, so I try to tell them that through emails and phone calls and assuring them that it's fine. Here's what's coming next. So,
well, letting them know then they're not the roadrunner running into a brick wall, not knowing what's coming up. And I think that's big. That's kind of what we do as well. Is hey, look, we're going to send this to the underwriter, and they're going to dig through this.
They're going to pick it apart.
Yeah, and they're doing it not knowing you. Now I know you, Mr. Customer, and I think you're awesome. And if I had my way, I'd pull up with a trunk full of cash and close on your house tomorrow. I mean, I'm good. Let's go, because I think you're great. I know you're going to pay the bill. I'm not worried about it. But they do it based on paper. Yeah. And it's kind of like an application. I always tell people, look, the application is the only way an underwriter knows who you are.
Right.
And if something's misspelled or incomplete, or not saying that they're going to decline anything because of that, but it's kind of like not finishing the dishes at home. My wife's not going to divorce me for it, but she's not going to be that happy with me for it. So it's those little things like that, and having that experience and that knowledge, it helps.
Well, you're borrowing money from some guy that doesn't know you. He's going to do his due diligence to make sure that you're going to pay that money back.
Absolutely. and it's not a little bit of money anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how many $70,000-$80,000 houses you have out there listed right now.
None. I talked to a guy today that won $200,000, and I was like,
oh God. Do you have a list of those two, or not the houses, the people?
No. A couple of years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, it got to the point on our team where we just decided that we couldn't help people. I think it was under 150,000 at the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I didn't feel like they deserved to buy a home. I did. It's just that you've got a seller that thinks that everything's perfect and they don't want to fix it. And they don't want to spend money on the house that they're getting ready to sell. And you got a buyer, first-time home buyer, who wants everything perfect. So it's hard deals to put together, and it's hard deals to keep together in inspections. And typically first-time home buyers, the underwriter scrutinizes them twice as hard, and every little thing counts. And they're just longer deals to hold together, and it's stressful.
Frustration.
So we just decided, from after having a few deals fall through, not due to our fault, that maybe there's just a point where our time is better spent in other places, let's say. And I try to be careful with the words, because it has nothing to do with our commissions. It really doesn't. It has to do with the time spent.
And the smooth deal. You want to have smooth transactions. And you don't want to promise to people, we're going to have a smooth transaction, knowing walking in, there's probably going to be some.
And we do help those kind of people.
Right.
Our friends come to me and say, can you help my son buy a first house? Absolutely, no problem. But nowadays I have to tell them, like the guy had to tell 200,000. I said, look, we'll talk. You come in the office and we'll have a conversation, but the conversation is going to involve a lot of old house issues and things that you may not be able to get the seller to fix in this market. We're still in a strong seller's market, believe it or not. The media wouldn't have you believe that, but we're still in a very strong seller's market right now, and we're coming back into multiple offer situations. You may have to buy the house as is and just deal with it.
So are the smaller ones, the ones I know they kind of don't exist, but where I'm going with this, the renovation stuff, because we're seeing this more and more. But that's a pain. I know it's a pain in your ass, and you want the smooth transactions and everything. We've seen a lot more of that lately.
The renovation loans?
The renovation loans where it's like a one-time they can build in what they want on those older homes, because those the sellers are having issues with that as well, or no?
Well, that's the great thing about real estate is you can kind of run your business however you want.
Right. So it depends on where you're
focused. I try to stay in that 300,000 to 800,000 range.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, people say to me, well, what if somebody came along with $1 million? To be honest with you, I might turn it down.
Okay.
I don't know that market that well.
That's wise.
There's the point that you just made.
I love that.
I don't
being
know
good
that
at
market.
being excellent at
and now I really don't know the market under 250,000.
Right.
I don't know what's acceptable, what's not, because my team's average is closer to 350, 360,000 right now. And that's just where we are. our avatar that we talk about all the time is the move up family that's in their 30s or 40s. Maybe they're selling their first time home in the 300,000 and moving up to the 400,000 or 500,000. And both of them have now good jobs. They got 2 or 3 kids and they can afford the nicer home. That's kind of the sweet spot for where we're at. And we do take people moving into Kansas City. We do take sellers moving out of Kansas City. We do take people that are first-time home buyers and people that are elderly and downsizing. I mean, it's all in the mix, but that's kind of where our focus is right there. Yeah. So I don't do a lot of flipping. I don't work with investors. We don't do multi-family housing. We don't do a ton of country properties. Again, because of the time with a country property.
Right.
And then you've got septic inspections that just add more layers of detail. And let me put it like this. We talked about like my systems in place.
Yes.
For me to have systems in place in that funnel, it kind of has to fit into that funnel if we're going to do 100 homes a year.
Right.
Other things outside of that funnel kind of slow us down a little bit and cause more problems for Barbara. I mean, I don't have one admin that's servicing 7 people. Barbara's really good if we keep it in our lane.
Well, and
makes sense.
Arby's doesn't sell cheeseburgers, and
no.
I mean, look, do what you're good at.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But
Get your niche.
But once you figure that niche out, be really freaking
Yeah.
Just be the guy.
Yeah. I get a call every single week, at least one, from some out-of-state dude wanting to flip houses or, and I just shut them down quickly and I go, I don't do that. I'm sorry. And they're like, oh. And I guess it's funny because like most agents they're just calling 15 agents and trying to cultivate somebody who's got some properties. But I'm just like, I got to move on because I don't know that market. And I'll just tell them flat out, look, I don't know that market. I wouldn't be the guy to help you with that.
People appreciate that honesty though, I feel like.
They do.
Well, I know I would. I mean, as a buyer.
I'm honest.
Instead of dragging me along and then have it not work out.
No. Same thing with somebody outside of our area. I don't go to St. Joe. It's just too far away. I don't go to Odessa or I don't go to wherever.
Odessa might be about where I'm from, so.
Yeah.
No, but let them have it. Let them be good at it because they know the market.
I think other agents.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you do. You send them off to who can handle that.
I'll ask them. I said, if you don't know anybody else, I'm more than happy to give you some suggestions and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, it's also similar. Again, obviously we work hand in hand, real estate and mortgage. That's kind of how it goes. But it's similar to us. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know a little bit about the entire mortgage industry, but I don't know everything about reverse mortgages or maybe not investment properties to the investor that's got 25 properties that he's got portfolio. That's not what I do.
Those are
right.
And where I love. I mean, I've noticed here over the last couple of years, the first-time home buyer, the age is moving up. Now, like you were saying earlier, you're starting to see people.
And the price.
Oh yeah, hell, the price.
Well, that's probably why the age is moving up.
Yeah, and you're starting to see 32, 34, 36 being your first-time home buyer. Now, believe me, I've had this conversation with a million people. Like, well, it's because they're millennials and they're still living. I'm like, that's not it. No. That's not it. It's because house prices, number one, are going up.
Yeah. And they're having to save more money, and it just takes longer.
And it just, exactly. It just takes because everything's expensive. I mean, everything is expensive right now. I'm not even talking houses. I'm just talking buy gas. I mean, it's not cheap. Eggs, there you go. But we work a lot with first-time home buyers, and then that move up couple that's in their mid-30s, mid-40s, and we see a lot of that scenario. But we don't work with investors. I'll have investors call me and they're like, I've got these 5 properties I want to buy. Well, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
I mean, because number one, time. I mean, the time involved in something like that is.
Oh yeah.
And to get the organization to get all their books together, and normally they don't have all that stuff together either.
That's
right. And then you're sitting there like, what now?
Not normally.
What payment on what house and what rent on what?
See, now you're involved in their process and they're not involved in yours.
You're not in control.
That's kind of the difference.
Yep.
Is that I want to kind of control the whole process and I can't control that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Because the ultimate thing is, if I take on a client like that, he's not going to be happy working with me.
Exactly.
Because I'm just not going to, I want to, every single client, the goal is to excel at a high level and get them to the closing table and do what they want to do,
Yeah.
so that they can talk to their friends and family about me and get referrals. Because 62% of our business is past clients and referrals.
Mhm.
That's a very specific number.
It's a very solid number.
Because I've made it that way.
Exactly.
That's your goal.
But if you just screw everything up all in the process, you're not going to get any of that. It's
That
going to be
number
like
flips.
it's going to be like 40, 10, you know.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you do refer them then to people that you know do that, like invest, people that specialize in that, to me, it seems you would still get referrals because you were honest and good about it.
Well, that's kind of like what we were talking
For
about
the
before.
business that you do.
Yeah, before we started doing the show, is I always tell people, put me as the guy, because even if I'm the guy to call, because even if I don't do it,
Right.
I've got a guy
Right.
that I know that does a great job with this. It's kind of, whether it be investment properties for finance or investment properties for purchase. I've got a couple different realtors that I'm buddies with. I'm like, this is what they do. They focus on investment properties. They focus on helping people invest and buy new properties. I mean, that's what they do.
Which is smart for them too. I bet they're not dabbling in what he does.
No, they're not.
They're staying focused on what their niche is.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, do what you know, and just do it really, really good.
Right. That's what we've tried to do. So.
Well, you mentioned, now I'm interested, because you mentioned, you've been in the business 18 plus years now, but you mentioned processes and some of the processes you've learned over those 18 years of experience with trial and error and, success and failure, I'm sure. I mean, I know that I learned through pain, and it's either monetary or physical. And so, that's kind of how we learn things and how we put processes in place. So if I'm a buyer coming to you individually or anyone in your group, I have a feeling you guys are all pretty much, you work the same process.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel you're very uniform.
Especially with having one person admin
At the
all of
helm,
it. It's
so like the listing and buyer packets are all exactly the same, except for page number 2 that has the agent's name and background on it. That's the only change. Everything else is exactly the same. And that's kind of how it is with the whole process like that. So we have, we kind of wrap our arms around this team concept. It's not that the individual agent can't give you high-level customer service. It's just they can't make the income that they want to make and still give you high-level customer service. Because if they're trying to do 20 deals a year all the way beginning to end with themselves, that's a lot more work than the average consumer realizes behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And with a team, what we do is we sell them on, there's going to be 3 people that are on your team. Okay, when we sell your house, Ron's the team leader. He has years of experience. You can call him at any time, and he will call you at some point just to thank you for working with us and make sure you have his personal cell phone. And then the other one will be me, your agent, whoever the agent is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one will be Barbara. And we talk about the importance of Barbara and her communication, because in a real estate transaction, there's 10 to 15 people involved in getting you clear to the closing table. Barbara gets paid to micromanage all those details and all those people.
Excellent.
And that's where most agents drop the ball.
Yep.
When I hear people complain about their last agent, 90% of the time, it was bad communication.
That's why I'm here too, because I can't stand that. Like, I love to have the process go smoothly, and somebody should be in the middle of all of them on both sides.
Can't get a hold of the agent. Don't call me back fast enough. Wasn't really sure what to do. And we had to call her all the time to find out what was next. And see, what we do is Barbara just has automated everything, where emails go out automatically. If this, then that email goes out. And so we just have the whole thing done, and people will say, oh, okay, why don't you guys let us know? We didn't have to ask questions because you guys were already telling us what to do next.
So beautiful. It's the process that we put in place.
Yes,
here. Look,
huge.
If I'm your loan officer,
refreshing to see that from others.
It is nice. You talk to me, but then I'm going to introduce you to our loan assistant. I'm going to introduce you to our processor. And if you're a loan officer that works for me, then guess what? I'm going to introduce myself to your customer, because Liz hears this all the time. Everyone knows me. My best ability is availability. Yeah. Right? Pick the phone up and call me, text me. If you have a problem, let me know and I'll get involved. And that goes for anyone we're working with as a customer. But we try to head all that off at the pass by having
Right.
like you, like having multiple
Proactive communication.
But I mean, I had to figure that all out. Like,
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick example. So when I first started with the team, we'd gotten up to 4 or 5 agents at that point. And I had all the picture, I had all the agents, boom, 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 on the team. Okay, in the brochure, in the listing pack, in the buyer package. So what would end up happening is some other goofball agent come in behind me and say, well, if you're going to deal with Ron's team, he's got this big, huge team, and you're just going to be a cog in the, you know. And so what ended up, so to solve that problem, what I did is I took everybody out, and each individual listing packet, like you have your own individual listing packet, you have your own, I have my own, and there's only 3 people in there.
Yep.
They don't need to know that we have this huge team.
Right.
They just need to know the people that are involved in helping
their transaction.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that, once we did that, I was like, nailed it. Now.
Nice.
But again, trial and error, you figure it out. And, you know, I won't name the name of the companies, but there's companies out there that I'm like, look, you're going to work with them, but you're going to work with him and then him and then him and you're going to talk to 45 different people. Yeah. And the reason I know, because I've had this happen before. Like, I don't even know
who do I talk to as the loan officer?
Yeah, you don't even know who to talk to. Yeah. So
we could name all the names right
now. We could, but we won't.
We won't. But next thing I know, I'm getting sued. The companies I'm talking about have got enough money, they can just do it.
I tell people, if you have to call, when you're calling your loan officer, if you have to call an 800 number to get your loan officer, you do not want to use that.
No.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And I see so many people, I've talked to so many people, well, I've got the company number, but on my loan officer's cell number. I'm like, that's mind-boggling. How the hell do you not have his cell number? I said, in fact,
so many things happen around the clock.
Here's my cell number. Make sure you have it and put it in your phone. And it's kind of like me. I've got, I don't know, 10,000 people on my phone, but it's because I put every customer in my phone. So if I did your loan 10 years ago and you call me today, I'm going to know it's Ron Henderson. Hey, Ron, how you doing? I'm going to know right away.
Well, another thing that's funny is that I had to kind of figure this out. Like years ago, I just thought, okay, the client is working with Liz on my team, and I don't really want to get involved because it might confuse them. And what I do now is I just, like, once they get under contract or they sign a listing contract, I'll just call them. If I get their voicemail, they go voicemail. A lot of times they call me back, and I'll just say to them on the phone, hey, Liz told me that you guys are under contract. Man,
congratulations.
For you guys. Yeah. Congratulations. You know, I'll introduce myself, Ron Henderson. They'll go, yeah, we know who you are. Because they see the letterhead, they see the business cards, they see the brochures.
It makes them feel important that you call them.
It does, but I didn't think of that.
That makes them feel important.
Because to me, I'm just like, goofball Ron Henderson. I'm like, I'm a goof most of the time. If you look on Facebook, I mean, everything that I do is just a big goofball, entertainment laugh fest. But so when I call these clients, though, I kind of put on my serious hat sometimes, but they will say, wow, thanks for calling.
Yeah.
And that, the first few times I was kind of shocked.
I was
just like, wow, okay, they know who I am. All right. And so I tell them, I said, look, this is my personal cell phone I'm calling from. If for whatever reason, I'm sure that everything's going to go really smooth in this thing. For whatever reason, you can't get a hold of Liz or whatever, and you just want to call me in the middle of the day to ask me a question, just call me. It's no big deal. That's what I'm here for.
It's like a manager going to a table, like your table, and you're sitting there, but on a much larger scale, but it makes you feel a certain way, like, oh, they care.
Yeah.
Or if, like, my drink was 5 minutes late and they show up and go, hey, you know what, we noticed you waited a while. We're going to make sure before you complain, before anything, they know.
And the number one reason that people tell us why they chose us is they said it just felt like you guys cared, like more than the other agent.
Absolutely everything.
It's
that in communication, but that's part of showing them that you care.
It has nothing to do with my 18 years of business or 1,300 homes. They don't care about that. It's all about them. It's like we felt like you cared about us.
Well, and the more entrenched we all are in our industry and what we do, we don't think about those things. I mean, we think about those things, but not from a borrower's standpoint until we actually work with that borrower.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, okay. It's kind of like me. I do videos for our national VA loans, and all the people call in from all over the country and like, hey, are you the guy on the video? I'm like, and well, yes. Oh, awesome. That's who I was hoping I'd talk to. And I'm like, dude, really? I mean,
it seems like you know what you're talking about.
Well,
and you're personable.
And that's what it is. And people are like, well, I just felt like I knew you already.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's good because I'm no different than anyone else. Just like you're no different. Your name's just on the letterhead. And
it is funny sometimes because, with social media today, like people stalk you on social media. So sometimes clients that I'm not friended with, but I have mine way open. You can see anything.
Yeah.
So they'll joke with me the first time I call them about something that I posted a couple of days ago, and oh, yeah, okay. And I just think
you weren't looking though. No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very open.
Your
with
social
everything
media
I
is
put
great
out.
though.
Yeah.
It's because you are very personal on your social media.
I
On your personal page, that's why.
I try to be real. There's so many different negative things out there in the world. I've just got to be that positive, upbeat guy that makes people laugh.
Wow.
So, if they get, all my friends know I'm the jokester anyway. So, we're being very serious.
But then you
here,
also do like really meaningful things too. Like we don't have to go into your travels, but your recent travels were Guatemala.
Well, I had some changes in my life last year, and I decided that I had some money and time to travel, and so I went to Vero Beach, Florida. I went to a golf tournament or golf outing with a bunch of guys in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Nice.
I went with my brother and sister-in-law to Guatemala.
Yeah.
My brother.
I stalked you.
My brother sits on the board of directors for a children's orphanage up in the mountains of Guatemala.
Oh, wow.
And
so cool.
They asked me if I wanted to go, and I'm like, yeah.
Heck yeah.
And it's funny because.
Would you have done that at every stage of your life?
No.
Right.
But some of our friends are like, so what's this all about? Why did you want to go? And I go, because they asked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how often does the average person get to go into the mountains of Guatemala and stay at a children's orphanage for a week and just experience third world country orphans and people?
Step outside of your everyday.
Like what? Yeah. I didn't know what to expect. The most shocking thing when I got there was we got to the orphanage on Sunday, and the kids were all off at church. So when the bus all brought them back to the orphanage, we're already there. And some little boy, I never met any of them, some cute little boy about, 7 years old comes running up to me, and he throws his arms around me and gives me this big hug. And I'm like, oh, we're hugging. Okay.
Oh.
All right. I didn't know
position where you didn't know that you were as important.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And so by the end of the week, it's just like, this is going to be really tough to leave all these kids, man.
Oh, I can imagine.
So it just was a life experience. And then next 2 weeks from now, I'm going back to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. I have this crazy idea of buying a second home down there because I hate the winters.
Amen.
And so I need a place to throw down for a few weeks or so, a month in the wintertime.
Or from like November to March.
Yeah, but I'm just going to research areas. I've lived in Fort Lauderdale with my dad for a while in my 20s, so I know Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach, Pompano Beach, Miami, and all that, but I don't think I can afford some of those places now. But I'm going to take a trip with a friend just to goof off and see areas. And then in March, I'm going on this crazy rock. I keep saying rock climbing. It's not rock climbing. It's rock crawling, if you know what that is.
I know.
Where they have 4-wheel drives and literally go up and down.
Yes, I know all about
off-road vehicles. And so I have a friend that they spend way too much money on their vehicles. That's their hobby.
Those are good friends to have.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I just said to him a few months ago, I said, dude, you ever take anybody on these trips? And he's like, yeah, you want to go? And I said, yeah.
Yeah.
Are they Broncos by any chance? We've got a guy in here
that
has a brand new one, and you can't wait to go do one of those.
They're like, believe it or not, they're like Toyota 4Runners, and I don't think any of them have Jeeps. And it's all just off-road vehicles.
Wow.
We take everything in, we take everything out, we pack, we camp.
Where is that?
Utah. We're going to Utah and Colorado.
Nice.
For like 9 days or something.
That'll
like
be
that.
fun.
Drive out there all over the place. So I'm just like utilizing these life experiences like that. So I throw it out there not too long ago. I said, where's your favorite place you've been in the world? And a lot of clients are like, oh, I love France. Oh, I love Italy.
Yeah.
And just to think about being able to travel like that. I've decided that at this point in my life, I haven't seen enough of the world and I want to travel.
Absolutely love it.
And there's a lot of world out there, and it's good to
Yeah.
get out of your comfort zone, number
Yeah.
one. And I mean, that trip to Guatemala, that sounds amazing. And I bet that, I mean, as a soul cleanser, I bet that was pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
That
I mean, it was nice. We had a nice place to stay in. We stayed in the director's compound, which is kind of an old hotel.
Mhm.
So we all had our own rooms, our own bathrooms. You kind of have like a little hotel room. And it was just fun. And it was in January when it was freezing cold here.
Here,
And
yeah.
every day it got into about 78 degrees every day. And I was like, this does not suck.
Yeah.
I can't believe you came back. If I got somewhere with 78 in January, I might not make it home.
I might have plans to go somewhere when
It
it's
was
78
fun.
degrees in
It was
January
fun.
this
I'm not
coming
gonna
year.
lie. It was a lot of fun.
Well, and it changes your perspective. I would think when you do come back and do what you do every day,
Oh, my
after
gosh.
you
The
experience,
stories
when
that
you
I heard
make
of
yourself
those
go out,
kids.
yeah,
Oh.
then it changes how you approach everything
Yeah.
you do, including your work. And I think that affects your clients. That's why I wanted you to talk about it a little bit, because I think it's a huge part of why why people like you. And
Well, there was a young man, I'll tell you this, and
Yeah.
at the time I told my brother, I said, I'm not going to post this on Facebook because I kind of like if I give to charities, I don't
Right.
make a big deal out of it. It's my own personal
Right.
thing that I want to do. But in this case, my brother did encourage me to do it. So while we were there, I met 4 boys that were living in the director's compound, and they've what's called aged out. So
Yeah.
they're out of high school.
Familiar with this.
They're trying to transition into
really tough.
jobs or college, and one of the kids really wants to go to college, but he can't really afford it.
Yeah.
And he's kind of working and trying to figure this out. And so I just asked Shane, the director, I said, what's it cost for this kid to go to college? And he goes, it's not that much. It's like $350 a month. And I go, are you kidding? That's it? And I go, do you ever have anybody like pays for them? And he's like, yeah. And I said, I want to do that.
That's great.
And it's just one of the boys that I'd gotten to know there. And he's a great kid, really sharp, really smart. Whew, terrible background though, horrific. It's unbelievable that he came out as good as he did. And I just committed right then and there. I said, I'm going to send this kid to college. And I just paid to the fund every month and just send him to
Man, when you give like that though, it does come back. Wait
Yeah.
till you see what happens in his
Yeah.
life. That's going to be incredible.
It was just nice,
And for what's
That's
not
awesome.
huge to you is completely life changing.
Oh, it's
It would be-
completely life-changing.
yeah,
He
for
can't
him.
afford $350. To me, I'm not belittling the fact that $350 is not a lot of money, but it's not that big a deal to me.
Right.
Well, when people are paying $1,000 a month for their cars now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
which that's becoming normal in our
Right.
Not just
society.
sticking it from here to there. That
Yeah.
changes this kid's life. I think
Yeah.
it's incredible. Big stuff makes you
That's
want it.
pretty
And then
awesome.
also it inspires other people. This is why
Yeah.
you should tell people about it. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying,
Well, that's
being
what my brother
careful,
said, yeah.
careful about it, because I understand like sometimes people feel like if you give them
Well, it's just one of those things
but it
like
inspires other people to do it.
I give a lot to church and to the Gideon's International and a lot of different charities, but it's just I just kind of feel like it's my business, not anybody else's what I'm giving and that kind of thing.
I think that's true.
I
but
know what you're
yeah.
saying though, because I do a lot of donations that no one has a clue about. And
Yeah.
the reason I do it isn't because
It's about
I don't want the accolades.
Right.
I actually feel good about it.
That's
and-
what it is,
Which is
yeah.
kind of cool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
in a world that has, like you said earlier, a lot of negativity. And every time you turn around or open your eyes or open Facebook or open Twitter or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you're kicked in the teeth with just the nastiness of this world. It's nice to be able to do something and to know that there are still good people out there.
Yeah, well, God has blessed me with a very successful business and an income and great, excellent people on my team. That's one of the reasons I could go to Guatemala and take all these trips is because, I mean, to be honest with you, the team runs better when I'm gone. Anyway, to be honest, but they do a great job. Barbara and all the rest of them, they do a
You got
fantastic
it
job.
running like a
Yeah,
well-oiled machine.
with all the processes in
Yeah.
place, they don't even need me. So.
But I do think it's important to share those things to an extent, just because when I'm around people, you can get real caught up in your own daily life and so busy and so crazy. But the best thing that's ever happened to me is when I stepped outside of that and said, I'm just going to take a day and give something back. It would be the simplest thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be going to Guatemala and paying for a kid to go to college, but it can be little things.
Well, this trip when I'm going to Utah and Colorado, one of the team members said, because we're going to camp out on the side of a mountain and stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the team members goes, "Do you like camping out?" And I go, "No, don't like it at all. I don't even have a sleeping bag." And I was like, I had to go buy a sleeping bag and gloves and hats and special boots and.
Good for you. Get out there.
Like,
You know they're all gonna be in their regular gear and they're gonna look at this guy over here, Rob, and it's brand new.
I'm like, "Josh, I need you to tell me exactly what to buy." And he's like, "So there's like a headlamp because it's dark." And I'm like,
oh man,
I'm like,
this sounds intense.
Okay, all right.
Can you put together an Amazon
Did
list
you
for
want
Yeah,
me?
that's what he did. Gave me links with the Amazon, and he's like, "Buy this sleeping bag, buy that." And he's like, "I can't believe you don't have a sleeping bag." I'm like, "Dude, I don't camp."
I feel like you're like doing that Jim Carrey movie where he could only say yes. Like,
It is the yes man.
That's what I feel. Yeah, the yes man.
Now, all
I feel
my
like
friends
that's
know
what I'm
this.
listening to.
This is a joke with all of my friends. I am the yes man.
Okay.
Now, I do say no occasionally, but the golf trip came up like that. So Mark, a buddy of mine who I've reconnected with, he is anesthesiologist out in Columbia, and he said, "So we got this golf trip coming up, and one of the dudes had to, he can't go now." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go." It was like that fast. And he goes, "God, you are the yes man." And he goes, "You want to know when it is?" "No, don't care."
No.
"Tell me it's in the winter," which it was.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You want to know the cost?" "No, I don't care."
No, let's just
Great.
go.
Put me down.
Write my name down. That's a yes.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
the joke. I am the yes man.
That's
I'll say
funny.
the yes.
Picked up on that.
You know, there is not a damn thing wrong with that. It leads you to a lot of good experiences. And
I've got the flexibility now in my life. I can just make those decisions myself, and I don't even have to worry about it. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. Gosh dang, I could just sit and talk about this kind of stuff all day because actually it's making me, you're right. It does make you want to get more involved
It
with
inspires
stuff.
you when you're around people that are in that state of mind. And I've been at different places in my life, and other times you're not. Everybody, I feel like, gets kind of caught up in their daily routine, and then other times in your life you're more.
Well, you know what's funny too? It's like it that does bleed into the real estate in ways that I hadn't expected.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I went to Guatemala, like there were like hundreds of past clients like watching my daily photo dump of orphans and
they want to see your personal life.
And
they want to know who you are.
I was just like, why do people even care? But people were responding and going, "Oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. How did you get that?" And so when I came back, it gave me a good reason to contact all the past clients because you're always, you don't want to call them up all the time and go, "Hey, how's the house?" And that gets old after a while. But just the conversations, they remember I'm in real estate. They know that. I throw in every now and then. I said, real estate's just fund this lifestyle for me now, and I appreciate that. But it's kind of enabled me to communicate with past clients.
It opens a lot of doors that you would never anticipate. If you don't say yes once in a while, you just get in that, well, this is what I'm supposed to do tomorrow. Like, just open up, do something completely outside of your box. And
well, it's kind of like this podcast.
This is I always praise you for this. I will support it.
I've met so many really cool. I know a lot of. I've been in the mortgage industry in Kansas City for 20 years, so I know a lot of people in the mortgage industry. But what's cool is I'm getting to meet new people that I didn't know before and I haven't worked with before. And like you and I right now, it's awesome to hear a story. And it's like, okay, well. Damn, now I want to do business with this guy because I think I like this guy.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's processes in place. Because for me as a loan officer, for any of our loan officers here, we get customers all the time. My goal is to get to the buyer before you do.
Right.
That's my job. That's what I want to do.
I wish that it was always that way.
Me too. We got some plans.
Yeah, we do have plans.
Please.
But then it's that, okay, well, who am I sending it to? And, once you get to know people and you get to know their personalities and you get to know your customer and you're like, okay, well, this personality is going to fit perfect right here.
I do that on my team.
Yeah.
I have 6 team members. And so sometimes, I kind of do a round robin if possible, but then it has to kind of start with geography because if they're looking in Kansas, it's going to go to Mark or Brandon.
Right.
If they're looking up north or somewhere else, it's going to go to one of the other team members. But occasionally somebody will be very kind of rigid in their thinking. I can tell they like processes. He might be an engineer, an architect. He might be somebody who needs more information than the average person. And I'm going to say, Tim is going to be the go-to guy for this one because Tim is that guy, And so it just depends on their personality style sometimes too. I might deviate from the round robin just because I think they're a better fit and
Oh, for sure.
enjoy the process better.
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to ask you was, what's the difference between running a team and, being your own individual agent? But, I think that's one of the things is knowing your team because look, I know I'm a likable SOB, but not everybody likes me. I mean, there may be someone that doesn't just mesh with me.
That's why I got out of working with buyers a long time ago because I don't have the patience. Like literally, I mean, I joke about this and I know some of my clients are probably going to see this and laugh, but like I'm the guy, we get to the third house and I'm looking at my watch going, you like this house? Is this the one? Should we write it up? And they're like, oh, hold on, we got 6 more to look at. I'm like, I don't have the patience for that.
But that's knowing yourself too that goes back to what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm a really good listing agent because I came from a marketing background.
Exactly.
I came from a photography background. And so I understand that and it's more structured and that is better for me and it moves faster. And so I just gave up working with buyers a long time ago, not because of me, but because I know that they're going to be frustrated working with me.
And other people on your team are probably going to be super excited to show them 27 houses.
Way better.
Exactly. And it's the same way here. When I'll have some people that call in and I'm like, okay, I need to put this with a loan officer. Who's this going to work perfectly with? And this one's a little more gruff and he needs a little more structure. And so, James. James is my Marine in here. So I know that James is going to work great with him. And then, there may be someone that's a little more easygoing and a little more laid back. I'm like, okay, well, that'll work well with Joe. Joe will work great with them. And I think that's a big part of a team manager or a team leader is knowing the strengths of your team.
Yeah, right.
Not just knowing your strengths. I mean, obviously you've got strengths because you're leading your team. But
I mean, I can work with anybody, but I have to go way outside my comfort zone to change my personality to match them.
Well, that's what you're talking about with Jessica, or was it Jessica that does the personality test?
Yeah.
I love the personality test. It's like, you don't even have to do them really. You can just tell.
I can tell. Like it's a disc profile.
Yeah,
so I can tell if
thing.
they're a DIC.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give me 5 minutes on the phone, I can figure it out. Like, I mean, just us sitting down talking on the phone, I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how to do business with this guy. I mean, believe me, I've had agents where I've talked to them like, I got to figure out how to never to run into this person. And I mean, unfortunately, and really not around here as much. We work in all areas, and so we'll have like New York, for instance.
Oh yeah, different personality. New Jersey, New York, and
I mean, so I had a veteran customer. I still talk to this guy. I did his loan like 2 years ago. But everyone was standing out in front of our office, and they heard me and this guy screaming at each other. I've never raised my voice at any customer ever.
But that's how he talks.
That's the only way.
I know who it is.
Yep.
And he does talk that way.
That's the only way he understood. And
he liked you so much
more.
Oh
my God.
He
was
like totally into you.
He sent me a Christmas card for guys.
Yeah.
And he's like,
I'm not going to say what I thought of.
Yeah, well, he's like, I like a guy with some balls. And I'm like, you were just driving me insane. And I was trying to tell you exactly how to do it, but he was arguing with me.
See, I would get along really good with a guy like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm that high D, high I personality.
Yeah.
I want to move fast. I want to
Let's go.
The bullet point everything for me. You start giving me too much to read and my eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
I'm that girl, sorry.
Yeah, give me the highlights and I'll fill in the blanks.
I'll do all the fluff.
I start by trusting people inherently.
Yep.
And many people don't. But I start with that trust heavily in play until you give me a reason not to trust you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's just my style.
I might hug him later. That's how I am too.
He doesn't want to hug you. He wants to yell.
We can yell. Yeah, that's how I am too. I always tell my wife, she's the exact opposite. She don't trust you until you give her a reason to trust you.
Right.
Where I'm like, we're friends until you give me a reason for us not to be friends. I trust you until you give me a reason not to.
Exactly.
I give you the benefit of the doubt. I mean,
and that's that high I personality, that does that and stuff. But you just have to know, like the high C personalities, they're going to want a lot more details.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy like me is going to try and give them bullet points when they want detailed information.
And that's going to drive you crazy.
And it's going to drive them crazy too, because they're going to assume that I don't know what I'm doing or talking about.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have all the personalities on a team.
Yeah, and we do.
If you have everyone, everyone plays a different role, that's huge.
Yep.
And it's real big, and because everyone is different. I mean, as much as, although I kind of started to think you and I are a lot alike, but everybody is different. I mean, everyone has different goals, and they look at things differently. I mean, it's amazing. I can do a video on a VA purchase, and two people can watch the same video and both hear completely something different.
Oh yeah,
it's like what is it, the Laurel or what? Remember that?
Oh, the blue dress or the gold dress. Or
did you hear Laurel or Annie or something? I don't remember what it was, but I mean, it's true. Everyone
they hear different things.
Yeah, they hear different things, and
it's based on their own personal perception of the world.
Well, and they a lot of people interpret immediately, and so I always say my wife hears what she wants me. She hears what she's hoping I'm saying, not really what I'm saying sometimes, and we're all that way. I'm sure I do the exact same thing. I mean, if she was on here, he hears exactly what he wants to hear.
That's what she says. Yeah.
And just having the knowledge that that's how people think is very important.
Yeah.
It's a little easier for me just because I've done it so many times.
Yeah.
But for instance, like if we closed 1,300 homes over 18 years, that means that's only the ones I've closed. But I've probably talked to 50,000 people, 100,000 people, and been able to read them through the whole process. And it's just when you start talking to that many people, you just pick up things.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll say the same questions, they ask the same questions, and a guy said to me last week, "Wow, you really do have all the answers." And I wanted to say, "Well, you just keep asking the same questions." These are the same questions that I've gotten for 18 years, dude. Seriously, nothing's changed. I mean, so I just know the answer to say, but like I could probably tell you what questions you're going to ask me anyway. So
guaranteed.
That's why I have a packet of.
Yeah, but this is the first time they've been through it, so I just want to honor that and remember that and just take it slow and go through it and make sure that they're happy, So.
Well, and that's like when we work with first-time home buyers, I always tell people, I love working with first-time home buyers. Number one, it makes me feel like a genius because I can sit down and go through all the things that I've learned over my 20 years of doing this.
Yeah.
And we can, not only just doing loans, but 20 years of working with real estate agents and 20 years of working with title companies and insurance companies. And I can give you that knowledge and that information.
Yeah.
Because my goal is once you did the loan with me once, I don't ever want you to have to look again.
Right.
Ever.
That's the same with me.
That's my guy.
And the only reason you have to look again is because I gave you a reason. And my goal is to never give you a reason to want to look somewhere else.
Well, at 18 years in, every year consistently for the past 5 years, anywhere from 12 to 18% of our business every year is repeat clients.
Huge.
I mean, their actual personal home that I helped them buy 10, 15 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're now coming back to us selling because I stayed in contact with them. They know other real estate agents. Everybody knows 3 or 4 or 5 real estate agents, especially over the last 3 years. So, I mean, hell, half the time I've had people tell me my brother-in-law has his real estate license. So I'm not sure how I'm going to tell him that I'm not going to use him. And I go, you want me to tell you? I don't know what to say. And that's happened numerous times, and so they just come back to us. I lose them occasionally, but it's more rare than it is.
Well, now you're probably doing their kids' first home.
We've had a few of those.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I've had customers where I've done their mortgage, 20 years ago, and now I've done their kids' loan. And I'm like, number one, thank you for still remembering me and finding me. And I mean, granted, I try to do a pretty good job with our CRMs and stuff like that. But I mean, there's $1 million a month spent on advertising on television from these other companies to get you to do loans with them. And, so I love that. I mean, doing their kids.
The great thing about repeat clients, though, is I never take that for granted. I never assume that there's a high level of trust there and that they're not going to interview somebody else.
I think a lot of people do that. That's a really good point.
And I tell them that. I literally tell them that and say, hey, just FYI, I know we've worked before. We worked with each other before, but I want to treat you like a brand new client through the whole process. And I'm like, I want you to be really happy through the whole thing. And it's funny when you tell them that, they go, that's awesome. Thanks.
That's really huge because that does happen a lot where people are like, oh, that's my old borrower that I don't have to worry. Like they already trust me, but to start over fresh like that with them, to acknowledge that it's important that you came back to me and I'm going to honor that just as much.
Exactly. Well, where you and I kind of automatically give that okay, I trust you automatically. You
Yeah.
give me a reason not to. I always assume that whoever I'm talking to has zero trust in me until I give them a reason to.
Right.
So every time I'm trying to earn, I mean, I have a customer right now that we did his home loan back in February of last year, and he needs to cash out. He's got a couple medical things that came up. And so he texts me out of the blue, and of course I have everyone in there, and he's like, hey, just wanted to see about a refinance. And so I called him up, and we started out just like that. I'm like, look, I've got to earn your trust again. I've got to earn your business, and so I'm going to go to work for you and put the right loan together for you.
Right.
And he's like, well, I actually talked to someone else.
Normally they'll talk to you, but they'll normally call, double.
I want them to.
Yeah.
But
they want to make sure that you're still the best guy.
Yeah.
I don't mind that either.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have the confidence to know you're going to.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. That's it. I always tell people, like, please call someone else, because you will be like, God, I'm so glad.
That actually is exactly what we want to happen. So you can see how great they are.
I have no problem with that.
It's actually better.
They do appreciate you more. They go. And I always ask them afterwards, I said, just out of curiosity, you interviewed 3 agents. Why did you choose us?
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, the one of two things. 90% of the time, it's one of two things. They'll say, well, you were the most honest with us. Like the other agent came in and was afraid to tell them some things about their house that needed to be changed or fixed because they were afraid if they said something, they were not going to like it and they were going to use them.
Yep.
Ironically, that's what gets me the business.
Yeah.
Because I was honest with them and told them their baby's ugly.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they fixed that.
You need to put a hat on that kid.
So they say, thank you for being honest. Or the other thing that they will say is, well, we just felt like, you cared about us the most. And sometimes I've realized that translates because we ask more questions than the average agent. So on the phone, in person, as they're looking at houses, every through the process, I ask a lot of questions. And I need a lot of questions because I need to know how I can best help them.
Yep.
But years ago, it occurred to me that by me asking those questions, it feels to them like I care about them because I'm asking a lot of these questions. I mean, I do. It's not that I don't. It's just a funny way that translates.
Oh, it's like,
well, anytime you feel heard.
Yeah, that's it. They feel heard.
Anytime you feel heard.
They feel heard.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of, instead of going to some, okay, this is what you need. This is what you need to do. Okay, what are you looking for? And then let's figure out a way to make it work within the parameters of what we can actually do.
Yeah.
But again, feeling hurt, and that's where the
and
psychology comes.
And a lot of the times, when we were just having this conversation last week with my team, people are afraid. Other agents are afraid to ask for the business, and so we were always joking about what's the movie? Coffees for Closer.
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
Glengarry Glen Ross.
One of my favorite.
Classic.
That is a classic.
So agents who didn't grow up in sales like me, they're afraid to ask for the business. They just think, well, I don't want to be too pushy. But yet when I say, can I make a suggestion? Jeff, it sounds like you have a lot of questions. Let's just meet in the office. I'm not going to ask you to sign anything with me, or it's not going to cost you any money. We're just going to have a consultation for an hour, and you probably get all your questions answered. And, if you're up for that, I'd be more than happy to do that. And like a lot of times they'll go, actually, that would be great.
Yep.
And I'm not making a commitment. I'm just saying, it sounds like you got a lot of questions that come into the office. Now, once they're in the office, I know that they're probably much more likely to use us statistically, because now we've been in front of them, and it's harder to say no to a guy that you spent an hour with him for free. And so, and hopefully they did like us enough to want to use us in the first place. And I think if they've interviewed other agents, they'll come back to us and say, yeah, that was sketchy. I think we're going to go with you guys.
They have commission breath really bad. You see that a lot where they're just like, whatever it is, yes, we'll get it done. We'll get it sold. We'll get it done. We'll get it sold.
There's good times to be a yes man, and there's bad times to be a yes man.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And you hear a lot of people, yes, oh yeah, we can, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a under promise, over deliver type of dude.
Yeah.
All right. Like, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put all the upfront bad that could possibly happen and the hurdles that we may have to jump through. But in the end, you're like, wow, that was simple. We're done a week in advance. I mean, yeah, get your mover scheduled. You're good. Everything's solid and taken care of. So I definitely,
it's gotten to the point where, when we're doing enough deals, I don't need your one closing to pay my bills this month.
And
I just don't. And so
that translates just
if-
having, just you knowing that.
if we got to kill the deal because
Yeah.
this is not right for you, then let's do it.
Yeah.
Then do it.
Yeah.
Because I would much,
It's a beautiful thing.
it's one of those deals where what's the rule? Make one person mad, they'll tell 1,000. You have a happy customer, they may not tell anybody.
Yeah.
But I'd rather, I don't, like you said, I don't need your one deal that bad to ruin this relationship. I want to keep the relationship intact. So if we need to step back and we need to go a different route, then let's do that, because it's more important to me that you're happy. And that's, it sounds like sales, but it's not. It's just the truth. I mean,
if you just put the client first and everything that you do does that, then
it's amazing. Isn't it crazy though? I mean, you think about all the sales seminars and all the stuff you read and hear. It's like, oh, but it's true. I mean,
and we're constantly reevaluating our processes. I mean, every 6 months or so, I really just look at our listing packets and say, is everything there still relevant? The buyer packets, the emails that we send out, are they still relevant? Does that make sense in this market? Because when it shifts from a buyer's market to a seller's market, what you're saying to the client in an email might change.
mm-hmm.
And so I reevaluate and reassess, and Barbara and I go over these things all the time and say, yeah, this doesn't make sense.
So you do not have complacency,
No.
which is wonderful. Like a lot of times the people that have been around for a long time, I see a lot of complacency.
Yeah.
And the newer people that come in, they're trying to, break into the market, and I see too much of the.
No, if it needs to be changed, I want to change it right now.
I love that.
We change it immediately. And so I embrace change. I don't run from it. So, but if something works, it works.
Yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
But it might just be tweaking how we say it or something like that. So,
yeah, a little bit of change, little tweak here, change there.
Well, like for instance, like when the market shifted hard in 2020, I mean, nobody knew what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I was freaking out. We had 18 houses under contract when the mayor shut the city down.
Oh.
I'm like, my phone's ringing off the hook. The agents on my team are freaking out. We don't know if we can get them closed because the banks and the title companies and the lenders and everybody's closing.
Shut down.
And I was just like, just be calm.
Yeah.
We're going to be there. I had to be everybody's cheerleader for a while. But when that shifted back and all of a sudden we realized, okay, people are still going to buy and sell houses, we had to change what we were saying to them. Because all of a sudden now people are willing to pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over the asking price in Overland Park.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to tell them that when you're sitting in the office at a buyer consult. You can't just wait till you get to the house and go, okay, what offer do you want to make? I mean, they're going to go, well, we might do a full price offer. And I'm going to go, yeah, they probably got 20 of those.
Yeah.
Now. I mean, you have to change the way you do business and what you say to the client way on the front end, just so that it's not a shock after you spend a lot of time looking at houses. I mean, when do you want to find out the guy's not going to ever offer over asking price? After you've shown him 20 houses, or at the very beginning when he's sitting in the console and go, well, I'll tell you right now, I'm never, and this has happened.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I'm never going to pay over asking price. And I said to the guy, well, then this is probably not the market for you to buy a house.
Yep.
Yeah, hold out,
and
buddy.
I just sat there and looked at him, and he kind of looked like a deer in the headlights, like he thought I was going to fight him or something. I'm not going to fight you. I don't have to choose to work with you.
Exactly.
And that's ultimately what we ended up with. Because I said, look, I can't help you. I can't stop the world from spinning.
Because
5
you
minutes
because
you want to buy a house and only pay full price.
Only pay full price.
And get closing costs paid, I bet.
Yeah.
You don't even want to play full
This
price.
is that we had that market. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't help him. I don't know if he bought a house or not, but it was just like, if you're just unrealistic, there's nothing I can do to help you.
Yeah, and we ran into a lot of unrealistic over the last couple of years with that. And, I mean, I hate to say I blame a real estate agent because I don't, but but in that situation,
sometimes they were.
Well, I mean, I would call them like, hey, do you guys kind of prepare them for the fact that they're going to, in order to get this house, they're going to have to offer over asking. Well, we might get lucky.
No, you're not going to get lucky.
I mean, unless you have a horseshoe shove somewhere, you're not getting lucky.
Well, and now the conversation changes back again.
Yep.
So, in May of last year, it's like somebody shut the faucet off. Like literally in a 2-week period. In a 2-week period, I saw it go from 30 or 40 showings in the first 2 days down to about 7 or 8 showings in the
Wow.
first 2 days. I saw it go from 10 offers on the table in 48 hours down to 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And by the end of the summer, it was just like 1.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of agents, I passed through our office, it was probably August last year, and overheard a couple, I'm assuming newer agents said, it took me a week to get that house under contract. And I was just like, what the
Oh.
dude, I remember when it was 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Seriously.
No
So
kidding.
when the house is on the market 3 or 4 months, you gotta do a completely different process than what you do today. And now we're shifting back again. I'm seeing multiple offers. So now we have to tell our clients, okay, we're kind of in flux. There's going to be some houses that have been on the market for 2 weeks, and you can negotiate $5,000 or $10,000 off the price of the house.
Well, I do a lot of stuff in Phoenix.
But if it came on the market today or yesterday, I'm a great negotiator. I teach negotiating at Kansas City Realtors Association. They ask me to come in once or twice a year to teach the class. But I can't negotiate with a seller that just went on the market and is feeling very optimistic about his price.
And looks at what's going on around.
No matter what I
Like,
say,
yeah.
I mean, he's going to go,
Ron?
why should I take your offer for $10,000 under?
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
I'll hold out.
I put it on the market thinking I was going to get 10,000 more than I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's just unrealistic, but you have to tell buyers and sellers that up front and communicate, look,
That's the key.
the market is in flux right now. We're not 100% sure what's going to happen. But what I fight more than often right now is everybody says, well, when are prices going to start dropping? I go, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
We have still 5 million homes short in America.
Yeah.
From what we need for the population growth.
Wow.
And new construction, and people say, well, I see new construction all the time. Yeah, but it's over $500,000. That doesn't help the first time home buyers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who can afford $500,000? People can, but something's got to change. And so you have to know going into this market that we're in a spring market with not very much inventory. And if you're buying a house under $300,000 in the Northland or under about $450,000, $500,000 out in Overland Park or Olathe, you're probably going to get in a bidding war.
Yeah, there's going to be competition.
You just got to do that. So they say, well, how can we avoid that? And I go, there's only one way. The only way you can avoid getting in a bidding war is wait to get a house that has been on the market for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's great information.
If you wait
Mm-hmm.
to at least 10 days on the market,
Mm-hmm.
then you won't have to worry about overpaying for the house or feeling like you're overpaying for the house. But they always come back and go, yeah, but there was one that just came on the market today and we want to go see it. And I go, okay.
Well, you know the deal.
You know the deal. We can go look at that house. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying they're not going to negotiate and you might get in a bidding war on that house. So you just got to choose what's more important to you.
Yeah.
There are plenty of houses out there that have been on the market 2 weeks that you can choose from. They're the ones that nobody else wants that need a lot of work.
Yeah, they need work or
But the upside is you might not have to bid $20,000 over for that house.
Yeah,
you might have to spend $20,000 on it, but you got to decide what to win for you.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Where's your win-win mark at?
Yeah.
Is it yeah. No, and
that's why real estate agents at a high level are needed in this business because we're interpreting the market on a daily basis.
100%.
well, and every market's different. I mean, what we see here in the Kansas City region.
Oh yeah, California is totally different.
And then like Arizona right now, one of my agents in Arizona is blowing me up right now. Hopefully everything's okay.
Yeah.
But they've got an offer in on a house. They put an offer in. I'm hoping that's what they're going to tell me. They got the offer accepted.
Yeah,
A veteran
right.
that's moving from Oklahoma. But they've got sellers right now that at that 2 week, 10-day mark, they're offering to buy the rate down for their buyers.
Yeah.
And that's what she's asking is if the seller pays 2% to get the rate bought down, where can we be at rate wise?
Yeah.
Which is great, but not, and I
So
had
they can
people,
buy more house? Is that what?
well, they can buy more house or, I mean, in this case, he just gets a little bit lower interest rate.
Right.
He knows where he wants
Because
to be.
they don't like the
budget-wise.
rate, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's basically a seller concession, whether it's buying rates down or
Right.
paying up or closing up, whatever it may be. But, what people don't understand is that market there isn't the same as the market
No.
we're dealing with here.
No.
Or like in Mississippi, like around here, we don't have houses in that $250,000 range right now. That house really doesn't exist. I mean, it may be there, but it's not in abundance. Well, I do business in like Gulfport, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And I've got an agent or two down there that I work with on a regular, and I mean, 180 to 210,000 every. I mean, I'm talking 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage. I mean, I'm like, I need to buy 5 houses down there.
Go for it. My dad goes down there, by the way, every winter. He just got back from there.
Oh, no kidding.
He said the growth over that city in the last 5 years has exploded.
Yeah.
Because of the affordability.
Yeah, the affordability.
You can live on the coast and you can buy a nice condo for $200,000-$300,000, really nice condo,
Yeah.
you know. But it's the same deal with like Idaho, like Boise, Idaho. Over the last 5 years during COVID, everybody from California to Washington State got out of town and said, okay, we can work remote now. Let's go to some place that's beautiful, not less crowded, like Boise. Boise shot up 300% on their home values in the last 3 years.
Yep.
So now if you look at the headlines from the national news media, they would say Boise has dropped, 20%, 30% in home prices.
It was really 250 up.
But yeah, we're up so high. Now they're just back to like, respectable high prices.
So you gotta know what sources to trust.
Yeah. So you have to go trust a local real estate agent that goes, hey, we're still okay. The sky's not falling.
Yeah, the sky's not falling. We're still, I mean, in fact, we're way better off than we were 2.5 years ago. Because you're right, there's a lot of people migrating out of some of those states where taxes were higher and things like that.
Yeah, but people watch the news media and they say, oh, you say that the home prices are coming down. I haven't seen that. I mean, if they were going to, it would have been this last year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
People are still, sellers are still getting full price offers at a high rate. They're still, selling houses, and if you don't want to buy their house, they'll just wait 2 weeks and somebody else will. It's not a big deal. And so, and I saw that happen in 2008 through 2012. And people still today that have been around then, they go, well, what happened in those years? And I go, that's a totally different market, completely. And truth be known,
that was
from 2007 prices to 2013 or 12, prices only dropped 33%. They didn't drop in half. They didn't go down to crazy land. I mean, they only went down during that 5-year period 33%. And what happened the next 5 after that? They almost doubled.
Exactly. And the biggest difference between the market in 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, and now is in those times, everyone was foreclosing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the reason the market cut the job.
You can go stated income. I had one of the first deals I had, and I tell this story, it's crazy, but you know that movie, The Big Short? There was some truth to that movie.
Oh, hell yeah, there was.
That movie. So one of the first deals that I did in 2008, this young kid, I don't think he was 30 years old. He went stated income, which basically means that he went in and just said, "Oh, I make this much." And
good enough credit score.
Exactly, a good credit score, and you could get a house down to 500 credit score. Then you can't do that today. It's got to be like 620, 80.
I mean,
550,
it's relative.
depending. I mean, yeah, it's
lots of factors. But yes, generally speaking.
Exactly. So he had 2 part-time jobs. He had one job he worked about 20 hours, and he had another part-time job that he worked about 25. And he barely made an income between the two. And I even joked with him about it. I said, "What are you going to do if you lose one of those jobs?" He goes, "Oh, I'll just get another job." Well, that's what he thought. This was 2006, I think. Well, all of a sudden now, nobody's hiring. And he lost one of those jobs. He lost that job within 30 days of closing on his new house. He never found another full-time job. He got foreclosed on 6 months later, never made one payment on it.
Yep.
That was a lot of that.
And I felt bad for that kid. I mean,
because he was advised that way that, oh, this is fine.
I'm like, that couldn't happen today. It's not
doesn't.
You can't do any of that stuff today.
Thank God.
No income, no asset, no employment.
Oh yeah, there was some
the stuff that was out there.
No.
125% loans.
Yeah, people say, well, can you show us foreclosures? And I go, yeah, but I haven't seen one in about 7 years.
Right.
I mean,
no.
I wrote a blog article. I write a weekly blog article that comes out on Fridays on our website, and I broadcast it out to everybody. Well, last year I wrote one, and it was one of the most popular articles. It says, why are there no bank repos? Well, it's because everybody has tens of thousands of dollars in their equity of their house because house prices have ratcheted up. So if for whatever reason I lose my job today, I could fire sale the house as is and still walk away with a ton of cash. Why would I give it back to the bank?
Yeah, exactly. You would.
Yeah,
You would.
that's why you don't see anything.
Yeah.
And you won't for a while.
And hence
either.
why the market is completely different than 08, 09.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love when people do try to compare those markets.
They just don't
It's
know.
not the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not anywhere close.
I mean, I could sit and tell you all day long about that, but that's.
So many factors involved.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I can't believe it, but we've been going an hour and 15 minutes. I
Oh,
don't even know
yeah.
how.
Right.
We need to do this again, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this has been fun, and I think we could probably sit here and talk for 3 or 4 more
Probably.
hours.
Yeah.
But
I never get bored with real estate.
no, me either. I love talking about this, and this and baseball, of course.
Of course. Yeah. Next time we'll talk about baseball.
I like that.
I will be somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, we'll sit and talk about
Yeah,
baseball.
you guys talk
I
about
can do
baseball.
that.
Yeah.
Well, Ron, before we get out of here, why don't you tell everyone again how to get a hold of you and what's the best way to contact you?
Our website is probably the best way, kansascityagent.com. My phone number, well, you know what? Here's the best way to get a hold of me. Ron Henderson, Ronnie the Realtor. That's what it is.
Ronnie the Realtor.
Just Google Ron Henderson. I'm all over the internet. You'll find me.
You'll find
It's
him.
that simple.
I love it. That's perfect. And you need to create the hashtag Ronnie the Realtor.
Yeah, I do.
I mean,
I
come
really
on,
do.
that needs to be on cards and everything.
Well, I was talking to her because she said she had my name Ronnie the Realtor in her phone. And I said, so if somebody calls me and they says, Ronnie, is this Ronnie? It's either somebody from high school or somebody that I've joked with, hey, put Ronnie the Realtor in
I
my
did
phone.
exactly that.
Because then if you can't remember my name next year, you can search for Realtor and it'll come up. That
Perfect.
And that happens sometimes. But
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Ron, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's
thank you
great
so
having
much
you.
for coming.
So knowledgeable, so inspiring.
Yeah, I've had a rough day too.
Yeah.
I feel
Don't
way
you feel better?
I do feel better. Holy
Look what you
crap.
do, Ron.
I mean, man, I do feel
It's
better.
actually true.
That's what I'm here for, just to make you.
Well, I tell you what, I get here about 7 in the morning. You swing on by, we'll have some coffee, and we'll get prepared for the day.
Yeah, I get ramped up.
Yeah. Well, guys, I tell you what, we didn't get off here. We've been going forever. Not that we have a time limit, but
Got a meeting.
yeah, we've all got meetings.
Yeah. And you get, yeah.
Somebody's got to get some sales and keep this economy going.
Exactly.
Gotta keep it
Someone's got to
going.
work out there, for God's sake. Well, Ron, thank you so much for coming and joining us, and we'll definitely have you back on. Liz, thank you very much for being here.
Absolutely. Love being here.
We, of course, the contact is 855-971-1050. You can give us a call anytime with any real estate questions, or mortgage questions, obviously. And then if you need to get a hold of Ron, or if you'd like to get a hold of Ron, talk to him about anything, and feel free to give us a call. We'll make sure to put you in touch with Ron and get you guys connected. So
Thank you.
that's one thing we like to do is connect good people. That's why I say I'm your guy. I'll connect you.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, guys, until next week, have a great week. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy. Happy Easter, everyone.
Oh, yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, enjoy Sunday. And
It's already Friday when this comes out, so.
Yep, it's Friday. So make sure to spend some time with your family if you can. Enjoy the weekend. And if you want to list your house, give Ron a call.
Yeah, that too.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.